Greetings, I'm Walter D. Donnie Kennedy, Chief of Heritage Operation for the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and I'm here with Ron Kennedy, the Chief of Heritage Promotion for the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and we're going to talk about, in this section, Part 1, Holidays in Dixie, and we're going to cover, Ron, let's talk about a little bit about Thanksgiving and fake history. You know, the term fake news is very common nowadays, but also we have to, as Sons of Confederate Veterans, we have to deal with fake news. Let me read you something, Ron, by a historian. I think that you may recognize his name in a minute, Dr. Grady McWhinney. He said, "What passes as standard American history is really Yankee history, written by New Englanders or their puppets to glorify Yankee heroes and Yankee ideas." This is what Dr. McWhinney said. Now, just tell us real quickly, who is this guy, Dr. Grady McWhinney?
Well, Dr. McWhinney is really one of the great pro-Southern scholars that the South has produced, among many, but a great friend of the Kennedy brothers, really encouraged us as we wrote. He had his undergraduate degree from Centenary College there in Shreveport, Louisiana. His master's he earned at Louisiana State University, and his PhD from Columbia University. A well-known scholar and one who was not afraid to challenge the politically correct.
Well, you know, Dr. McWhinney's idea about current American history being history to glorify Yankee heroes and Yankee ideas. Actually, America's first Thanksgiving and our current celebration for that holiday really points this out. You know, most Americans think of Thanksgiving, they'll take their little children and dress them up like pilgrims, and they'll have their Thanksgiving turkey, and they'll talk about the first Americans in Plymouth Rock and all the pilgrims landing, coming to America, and being the first Americans in establishing Thanksgiving. What do you think about that, Ron?
Well, I'm not sure that that's exactly historically correct, Donald. When was the first Thanksgiving?
Well, and therein lies the problem when we start talking about fake history, fake news, fake history, because the problem is that Pilgrims were not the first permanent English settlement in North America, and they were not the ones who first celebrated Thanksgiving. This is why we call this fake news. The first permanent English settlers to the USA were actually in Jamestown, Virginia. Do you know where Virginia is?
I think it's south of the Mason-Dixon, slightly south of Massachusetts.
I believe you're correct. Now remember, the Pilgrims landed on the famous Plymouth Rock, which, by the way, doesn't exist. They have to put a new rock there every now and then. But anyway, they landed up in cold New England in 1620. Jamestown, Virginia was settled by English settlers in 1607, or really 13 years before the Pilgrims landed. And interestingly enough, the first thing they did when they got off that boat in 1607, Ron, was get out on their hands and knees in the soil of Virginia and give thanksgiving to God for their safe passage to America. In 1619, 2 years before the Pilgrims' Thanksgiving, they had an official Thanksgiving celebration. So you see, things are a little bit different than what we call Thanksgiving, and to me, that's part of fake history.
Well, you know, okay, you're beating up on the Pilgrims. Is there anything else? I mean, other than,
well,
you know, maybe that was cultural misappropriation.
Cultural misappropriation
of Thanksgiving by the Yankees.
Well,
anything else?
Well, yes, there is. Most people will learn about the Pilgrims' Thanksgiving. They also learn about the Mayflower Compact, which is a good thing to know. We need to know all. And I'm not saying we shouldn't learn about the Pilgrims. Don't misunderstand me. I say let's learn all of American history, not just Yankee American history. But the Pilgrims made the Mayflower Compact before they got offshore and started their settlement in Massachusetts, what later would become Massachusetts. And American school children are taught that this is the beginning of representative government in America. Most school kids, if they know history at all, which most of them unfortunately don't, they will point to the Mayflower Compact as the beginning of representative government. It was a beginning of representative government, but it wasn't the first. You see, by the time the Pilgrims had formed the Mayflower Compact, the Virginians had already established the House of Burgesses, a elected, represented government, self-government by the people of Virginia. So there again, we have the idea that there's a little more to history than most of the time we're taught. And as Dr. McWhinney said, since Virginia and Southern history is not glorifying Yankee ideas and Yankee heroes, too many people really do not understand what real history is all about. Ron, we're looking at Dr. McWhinney and the way that we celebrate Thanksgiving and what he said about fake history and fake news. Do you see any relationship in what's going on with fake news about Thanksgiving and what's happening today with Southern history in general, not just Thanksgiving?
Yeah, you know, we've said over and over again, the Sons of Confederate Veterans have said over and over again, the victor writes the history. Not only does the victor write the history, but he uses his military, political, and financial power to enforce that history. And in the politically correct era that we live now, he is actually censoring things such as what we're talking about today. How often do school children, even in the Deep South, how often do they hear the truth about Thanksgiving, the truth about the Mayflower Compact and the House of Burgesses? Right. So, yes, the victor writes and enforces his history, but it's our jobs as sons of Confederate veterans to share this information. We share it with our friends, our neighbors, our families, and we share it on our various social media. We should flood social media during Thanksgiving and let the people know the truth about this wonderful American holiday.
That's right. It's an American holiday first celebrated by Southerners in Virginia and then by the New Englanders up in that cold, barren land of New England. But it's American history, and it's all of our history. And again, we in the Sons of Confederate Veterans, we've always stated we are protecting traditional American values. Thanksgiving is part of that value, whether it's being celebrated from New England perspective or the Southern perspective, as long as both perspectives are being taught. And that's what we're all about. I hope you folks enjoyed this part of our Holiday in Dixie series. We will be back with a second part. And Ron, we're going to talk about Santa Claus and Robert E. Lee.
And Robert E. Lee?
Absolutely.
All right.
And we're going to identify the first Grinch that stole Christmas in America.
Oh, no.
And of course, hey, New Year's is coming up, so we got to say a little bit something about the Black Eyed Peas.
That's right. That's right.
So we'll see you folks on the flip side in part 2 of Holidays in Dixie.